Hey guys, my name is JC and welcome to another gameplay video featuring the bad boy of metal, Memnarch. This deck has one simple goal: ramp hard and steal hard until we beat our opponents with their own cards or they concede. If this deck seems right up your alley, make sure to stop by the channel where we have a deck tech for Memnarch discussing all of the included cards as well as the overall strategy. Let's see if the OG Theft Commander still has what it takes to steal a victory. Okay, let's have a look at who we're playing against today. We have Sisay, Weatherlight Captain, Volo, Guide to Monsters, and Darien, King of Kjeldor. Now, looking at our opening hand, we do have turn 2 ramp. Gilded Drake is really great removal against some of these commanders, which it looks like all three decks are going to be relatively commander-centric. Clock of Omens is a really good combo piece, and all his dust can wrap up anything that gets a little bit nasty, so I think we can keep this. So we start by drawing a Consecrated Sphinx for turn. Well, that's a really good card draw. So we'll play our land for turn and then we'll just pass it there. Sisay plays a land, and that's it for them. Volo plays their land for turn, and it's an Ancient Tomb, and they cast it into an Arcane Signet. And that's their turn done. Darien plays their land for turn, and they just leave it there. We draw a Skyclave Relic, so our turn's going to be pretty simple. We'll just play our land, and we'll get down our Prismatic Lens. And that's going to be us done for our turn. Sisay plays a land, and now they cast a Felwar Stone. And that's it for their turn. Volo plays a land for turn. And now they cast their commander, Volo, Guide to Monsters. Whenever you cast a creature spell that doesn't share a creature type with a creature you control or a creature card in your graveyard, copy that spell. And that's it for them. Darien casts a Lightning Greaves. And that's their turn done. We draw a Silvermere. So I think this turn we're just going to have to unfortunately cast our Silvermere. And then we'll have to leave the turn there. So not drawing a land there has hurt us a little bit, but hopefully that trend doesn't continue. Sisay plays a land, and now they cast Chromatic Lantern, so now their lands can tap for 1 mana of any colour. And now they cast Goshintai of Boundless Vigor. It has Trample at the beginning of your end step. You can pay 1. If you do, put a 1/1 counter on target shrine for each shrine you control. And that's their turn done. Volo plays a land, and they start by casting a Lightning Greaves. Now they move to equip the Lightning Greaves to their commander. And now they cast an Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath. So they will get a copy of that. So when it ETBs, they get to gain 3 life and draw a card. Then they can put a land from their hand onto the battlefield. And they do put a land into play, a Temple of the False Gods. Now the second Uro enters. They draw a card off of it. But they don't put a land into play off of that one. And that's it for their turn. Darien plays a tapped land for turn. And they're just going to leave the turn there. So we do draw a land for turn, which is really good to see. So we'll play that land to start. Then we'll get down our Skyclave Relic, and then we'll just have to leave the turn there. But we should be in a good position next turn if we can land that Consecrated Sphinx, so it can start drawing us more cards, so we can make our land drops, hopefully ramp a little bit harder, get the Chromatic Ori out with Clock of Omens. That should put us in a pretty dangerous position. So Sisay starts by playing a land for turn, and now they cast their own Lightning Greaves. Now they cast their commander, Sisay, Weatherlight Captain. It gets +1/+1 for each colour among other legendary permanents you control, and you can pay Wooburg to search your library for a legendary permanent card with mana value less than Sisay's power, put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle. No doubt they'll be moving the Lightning Greaves onto Sisay, and they do. Now they move to their end step, and Goshintai of Boundless Vigor triggers, and they decide to put it on their Goshintai, so now it's a 2/2. Volo starts by casting a Phyrexian Metamorph. That triggers Volo. The first copy comes in as a Chromatic Lantern, and the second copy comes in as our Skyclave Relic. So just upping their mana using the Phyrexian Metamorph there. Now they cast a Doubling Season. If an effect would create 1 or more tokens under your control, it creates twice that many. And if an effect would put 1 or more counters on a permanent, it puts twice that many on that permanent instead. So the Volo players certainly put themselves in a dangerous position for the rest of us at the table. And that's their turn done. Well, I'm really glad that we have this All Is Dust in hand. And we may just need to cast it if we do draw a land, just to equalize things a little bit. Darien starts by casting a Jade Monolith. They can pay 1. The next time a source of your choice will deal damage to target creature this turn, that source deals that damage to you instead. And that's going to be it for their turn. We draw a Copy Artifact for turn. So we don't have enough mana to cast the All Is Dust, so that option's out of there. So I really think all we're reasonably left with is to get our Consecrated Sphinx down. Hope the Volo player doesn't copy it, because that's going to be big trouble. We definitely need to draw more cards. The missing the land drops here has hurt us a little bit, so let's cast our Consecrated Sphinx. That lands, and we're just going to pass the turn. Consecrated Sphinx triggers on their draw step. So we will draw 2 cards. And there's 2 lands, so that's really great. Sisay plays a land for turn. Now they start by activating Sisay. So they're going to search their library for a legendary permanent with mana value currently less than 3 and put it onto the battlefield. And they put a Sanctum of Stonefangs into play. At the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of shrines you control. So now they move to their end step. Goshintai of Boundless Vigor triggers. They pay the 1, and now it targets itself, so it becomes a 4/4. And that's their turn done. Consecrated Sphinx triggers on Volo's draw step, so we'll draw 2 cards. And a Seagate Restoration and another land, so we're seeing that all our lands were clumped up in one pile. They play a land for turn. And now they start by casting Myth Unbound. Your commander costs 1 less to cast for each time it's being cast from the command zone this game, and whenever your commander is put into the command zone from anywhere, draw a card. Now they cast Asceticism. Creatures you control have hexproof, and 1 and a green regenerate target creature. So they've certainly set up a protective shield around their creatures, both the ones down now and what's going to be coming down in the future. And that's their turn done. So fortunately we didn't see anything too scary coming out of them there, especially with the Dublin season down. Consecrated Sphinx triggers on Darien's draw step. So it looks like we've managed to get pretty much a full draw from the turn cycle here, which I'm really happy to see. Let's see what the next 2 cards are we draw. A Psych Rift and a Mana Drain. Okay, now we're really starting to hum here. So Darien's played their land for turn. And now they cast a Cathar's Crusade. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Well, that can get dangerous very quickly in a Darien deck, but fortunately they don't have a board state just yet. And that is going to be their turn done. So we go to our turn, we draw a delay, so some more counter magic. So I'll start by playing our land for turn. Now I think we've still got some time before we have to pop off the All Is Dust. So hopefully we don't get punished for this, but what I'd actually like to do is cast our Seagate Restoration so we can draw a lot of cards and we'll have no maximum hand size. And then once we do that, I think we can pull off the All Is Dust the next turn, allow the Sisay player to tutor out a few more shrines, get rid of some of the strong ones. If Volo gets anything else down, we can get rid of that, and I want the Darien player to at least cast their commander so we can get that and the Cathar's Crusade. So let's have a go at casting our Seagate Restoration. And that goes through, so we're currently up to 21 cards in hand. So we have a Metal Worker, that's a real big key piece. If we can get haste, then we can really pop off our next turn. We have Hedron Archive, Unwinding Clock from when we get Memnarch out, which is really good, but unfortunately no haste giver, so we won't be able to do it straight away, but I'm really happy with that. So I think we can just leave the turn there. Consecrated Sphinx can sit up as a blocker, protect our life total. Okay, so moving to Sisay's turn, Consecrated Sphinx triggers, and we draw a Prototype Portal and a Star Compass. Sanctum of Stonefangs also triggers. So we all lose 2 life and they gain 2 life. Now they play a land for turn. They cast Time of Need, search your library for a legendary creature card, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle. So let's see what bomb legendary creature they have. Hopefully it's something really good that we can get with our All Is Dust. And they get the Goshintai of Life's Origin. So when it or another non-token shrine ETB is under their control, they make a 1/1 colorless shrine creature token and they can pay Wooburg to return target enchantment card from their graveyard to the battlefield. So now they do cast Goshintai of Life's Origin. That will trigger itself, it'll make a shrine. Now notably it is colorless, so it won't get swept up by our All Is Dust, but that's okay. Now they move to their end step, Goshintai of Boundless Vigor triggers. They pay for it, and now it targets their Life's Origin. So it is currently a 7/8, and that's their turn done. Consecrated Sphinx triggers, we'll draw 2 cards. A land and a Blinkmoth Urn. Now they cast Tachiova, Benthic Druid. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under their control, they can gain a life and draw a card. They have to sacrifice one of the Tachiovas. Now they play a land, so they gain a life and draw a card. That will trigger our Consecrated Sphinx, and we will definitely draw 2 cards. We get a Thought Vessel and the land in hand. Now they cast Nature's Law and search for a forest and put it onto the battlefield, which is going to trigger Tachiova and our Consecrated Sphinx again. So they're really starting to help us dig through our deck here, that's for sure. I think we've got more than enough cards in our hand to get the job done. So let's draw 2 cards. And we get the Swiftfoot Boots, which is exactly what we wanted for our Metal Worker, so that's really great to see. The amount of mana we're going to be able to generate with Metal Worker is going to be quite insane. Now they cast Selvala, Heart of the Wilds. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield, its controller may draw a card if its power is greater than each other creature's power, and you can pay green, tap it, add X mana in any combination of colours, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. And after all that, their turn is done. Consecrated Sphinx triggers on the Darien player's draw step. We'll draw again. A Sisay's Ring and a Dreamstone Hedron. Now they cast their commander, Darien, King of Kjeldor. Whenever they're dealt damage, they can create that many 1/1 white soldier creature tokens. That does trigger Cathar's Crusade, so it'll become a 4/4 now. They'll move to equip their Lightning Greaves onto Darien. And that's it for their turn. Alright guys, I hope we're ready for our big turn. Let's see what we draw into. And a Cold Steel Heart. Okay, well let's start by playing our land for turn. Then let's cast our Metalworker. Now we'll cast our Swiftfoot Boots. Now let's move to equip the boots onto Metalworker. Fortunately we do have mana up to be able to counter any spells even if there is some interaction here. That does go through. Okay, let's tap our Metalworker and see how much mana we have access to. So that tapped for 18 colorless mana. So we'll start by casting our Chromatic Ori. Then we'll cast our Commander. Now we're going to cast our Clock of Omens, which now we activate. We're going to be able to untap our Metalworker. And we'll tap down the Clock of Omens and the Swiftfoot Boots. Now we'll tap it again. That's going to tap for 14 colorless mana. Then we're going to cast our Unwinding Clock. We're going to cast our Prototype Portal now. And we're going to imprint Dreamstone Hedron, so we'll be able to make copies of it every turn. Then we'll cast our Hedron Archive. Then we'll cast our Thought Vessel. We'll use Clock of Omens' ability to untap our Metalworker again. We'll tap down our Commander and the Unwinding Clock. It's going to untap Metalworker again. And that's actually caused one of the players to scoop. I think they've seen more than enough. The amount of value we're getting here is pretty crazy. Oh, and that's caused another player to scoop as well. So it's just down to the Darien player, and I feel like that's probably going to be it from them. Well, we'll start using our Commander's ability here then anyway to close out the game, because I think it's over for him, unfortunately for the Darien player. So we'll gain control of the Cathar's Crusade. Then we'll tap down the Cathar's Crusade in our Hedron Archive to untap our Chromatic Ori. We'll make Memnarch gain control of the Jade Monolith. And that is it there. Well, that was a pretty crazy game. That all happened in one turn, but we just saw the power of Metalworker there. But let's go to the review and discuss what happened. So I don't actually have a lot to say about this game. We saw the power of resolving a Consecrated Sphinx and a Seagate Restoration in a big mana deck, and the concessions from our opponents indicated that they did too. All the players got off to a good start, and the Volo player was certainly set up to win the game the turn after they resolved that double-in season. We were just lucky they didn't have any game-ending follow-ups the next turn, which gave us enough time to draw more cards until we found our game-ending pieces. And as you saw, that's exactly what we did. Metalworker combined with a draw spell can generate an insane amount of mana. Now when you combine this with untap effects such as Clock of Omens and the fact that most of our cards are artifacts, it isn't hard to generate enough mana to steal the board even without going infinite and close out the game. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the game as well as the fun synergies the deck was able to produce. Until next time guys.